What does it mean to be connected to the earth? Let's talk about it. Thank you for joining us for the ZoliArt Montana podcast. My name is Linda, here with Zoli Althea Brown. Zoli, how do the energies change at different times of the year?
Ooh, that's a rich statement. I think it's built into us as people. The animals certainly feel it, insects, everyone, because everything's a cycle, right? Everything's cyclic on this plane. It's hierarchical. That's the way things move. They don't stay static all the time. And I think to feel the difference in the seasons, that's an intuitive thing that we do, and we do it very naturally. There are rituals, there are celebrations, there are family circles, there are things that we do at certain times of the year. We might want to do them, or we might not want to do them. We might not want to have to see Aunt Mary again because she always criticizes our hair or something on Thanksgiving. But this is just part of the family drama. You die and it's all over. You never see that person again, or they come back and you're best friends. This is the cycle, and it's very dramatic when seasons change because we expect something. Think about in past times. And this still holds for some reason. My operator husband says that things happen mostly in the fall. And why do things seem to happen? 9/11 happened, things happen. Maybe, maybe it's because when you were going to war in other times, you had to get it done before winter came. That was going to be kind of dramatic to have to deal with. So I don't know. I think that to have a nice personal ritual about moving from summer into fall, fall to winter, winter to spring, that can be very nurturing. And it can be a very grounding and loving thing to do. Some people like to go stand on the earth barefoot. Some don't. Some don't have earth to go stand on if you live in the middle of a city. So I think that things cycle. And when you think of the hippie movement in the 60s, my mom said, my next life, I'm going to come back and be a hippie like you. I didn't think I was. I ran a farm. I ran around barefoot a lot and had cows. So maybe I was in her mind. And maybe she'll get to do that. Wouldn't that be cool? So that's also a cycle, the reincarnational cycle. So what if these cycles are representative of how we each change?
It brought me back, but that was weird.
Are you there?
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm not sure what that was about.
That thing, it's a cycle. Things happen. I think we should just leave that in because it's a great example of how things cycle.
Fair enough. Zoom
And
cycled off and back we are.
yeah, I mean, think about going to school. I used to love the first day of school. Oh my gosh, I was sick of summer. I was bored and I loved the books and the smell of the paper and all that. Some people love it, some hate it. So it can be a very personal thing. But I think the personal cycles that we go through can be can be a memorable time. When we go into winter, there's kind of a sadness. We're in Scorpio a lot, you're going to Scorpio on the 21st, I think, of October, which is plutonic. It's going inside. It's that let go of the things that are all joy and all happy and go within yourself and take time to nurture and figure those things out.
So, by being aware of the natural cycles of the earth, we can kind of be more in alignment with ourselves, which is interesting because we're almost losing it in our modern life.
Oh, we'll get it back. That also is a cycle. When I was running my farm, I certainly was more in touch with the cycles. Up at 4:30 outside all day, and I barely wore any shoes unless it was winter. Well, even then, I didn't much. Um, I think the cycles of living on the earth and being in the earth and earthy professions, and kids certainly like to go do that. I think it can be very healthy, but some people don't like it. It's a personal thing.
Yes, I suppose it can feel unnerving if because some of the cycles or the energies are quite intense.
It depends on us. The intensity of it, there may be a lot of weather change, there may be personal things going on. The seasonal affective disorder that is certainly proved where you need more. What do they say? And I'm not telling y'all to do this because I'm not a doctor. You need more vitamin D that you usually get from the sun. You need those lights like the John Ott lights, they're the spectrum lights. There's all kind of stuff on there. To me, that helps. I do both those things, but that helps me. But, I came from Olympia, Washington most of my life, where it's like Scotland. It's dark most of the time and it's overcast. I loved it. It never bothered me. But you do tend to get a little cloudy in your body if you're not replenishing and renurturing that normal cycle.
So are people generally energetically attuned to one place over another, or is it more complex than that?
Well, I think it's much more complex. It depends on where are your karmic obligations that you have. Where do those people live? What do you love? Well, I still miss the flora and fauna of Western Washington. That was like my place. It was like Scotland, being Scottish. I love that. But I think that it's very personal. What do you love? Does something remind you of a smell from your childhood? We have all these important time posts in our life that we can go back to and look at for good or for ill. But I don't think we can really move forward into the future until we resolve a lot of that stuff. And so I think doing body code, emotion code, EFT, talk therapy, whatever, go stand on the ground, dig a hole, scream in it, whatever you want to do. We have to keep it moving. We have to cycle out of that. And we have to ghost our past. I just thought of that. We have to say bye. I'm done. I'm blocking you. We have to do a lot of that. And people will ghost you and you will ghost them. And the reason that happens is we finish things. And sometimes it's just done. It's just done. It can be very personal. It can be upsetting, but so what? We get over it.
That's a really good point, to ghost your past. I think of, those awkward moments that you agonize over for years and years. And for what? You were just being a person. And if you ghost that part of you, you can just move on and try to do the next thing, because that actually doesn't matter that much.
That's very true. We drag it behind us like a dead mule. And then we show it to other people. We bring it out and show it to them. Look, here's my wounds. Here's my problem. Do you have any of those? Well, let me tell you about mine. Get over it, people. I did that for years. I had a 20-year so-called recovery process where I went through the idea of my codependency, which was my main addiction. I did some binge drinking. I really wasn't a druggie. I smoked a little cigarette, smoked a little weed. But my real thing was the addiction to taking care of other people because I only saw them and I didn't see myself. Took me about 20 years. And I was a bore to be around. My poor parents, oh my God, here she goes again. And the blameology and the victimhood, it all comes up. But so what? Get over it. We'll do that.
Find a way to move through it, even if it's a sticky mess.
We will or we won't. And if you find a way to move through it, you're going to have a much healthier, much freer life where you don't feel that other people owe you so much or that you owe them so much. We do owe other people, they do owe us in relationship in a certain way. I could go on and on about that. So could anybody. But the part where we're fogging people or they're fogging us, fear, obligation, and guilt, those three things. What's being used against you? What are you using against other people? But we use it about ourselves first. We go to our fears and, oh my God, I got to do this, the obligation, and the guilt because we didn't do it.
Yeah, a lot of relationships get stuck in that fog.
It does. And it's part of the cycle. Sometimes we'll do it until we just get sick of it. One person says, I'm out of here if you don't fix it. Well, you fix yours. Welcome to Earth. We project. That's what we tend to do. We just have to figure it out.
Right. We can only fix ourselves. And it sometimes feels frustrating that things in the physical can't be as easy as they are in our mind.
Very true. And the cycles of the months and days, those do have a great effect on us. We can have memories of, every September this happens, or I broke up with her in June. And so I'm going to light a candle, whatever. I light a candle for my father, who was Jewish, his yahrzeit candle, on the day he died. And for my nanny, Ada, that raised me, and for my mother on the day that they transitioned. Because in the future, what are we going to do? We're going to celebrate death and grieve at birth. Oh my God, here you go again. Or this is a hard place. That's why I advocate being a little easier on the self because earth is hard. You come into this hard school. It's difficult and life is difficult. We're developing a backbone. If you develop a backbone, you're going to have a much stronger way of knowing what your boundaries are. When I don't do that, I'm a mess. I fog myself. I'm living in this mist. It's like Heathcliff, it's the broom. Oh my God, what are you doing, Zoli? But I tend to do that. That's my cross to bear. So I've had to learn techniques of what to do. I spoke before about the breathing exercises that I've learned to do, about calming myself. What certain times of the day do I get anxious? It's all about awareness. If I can figure it all out, I guess I'll float up and live on a cloud, but I'm not going to figure it all out. I'm going to try.
How can we more naturally tap into the golden threads of the divine?
We have to be aware that it's there and ask. It's like Peter Pan, or Tinkerbell. There's magic in the air. There always is magic. And what that magic is, anything outside of the physical senses, right? Things that should or shouldn't be there. But it's a really divine thing. It's feminine energy, by the way, to be able to tap into that. But the first thing is to get that little feeling in the heart, I think, of I want to connect with that. I see the divinity is there. I know it is those who guard me and who guide my life, who help me, give me some help, show me what to do, because that is where it comes from. It comes from the spiritual outside into us, and we can project it back out. I don't think it's a one time thing. It's not a one hit wonder. It's always happening, but you're right about the awareness. I think we have to be aware of it, but we need to ask for help. Just ask and say, God, spirit, whatever you believe, come into my life more fully and show me a way to connect with that golden thread, with that peaceful feeling that I just don't seem to feel right now, but I want it.
It's beautiful. But I wonder how we can make the abstract idea of the spiritual more personal and tangible for people.
That's a pretty big, yeah, that's a big one. I think we can only do it with ourselves and hope other people notice. As a recovering codependent alcoholic, I can guarantee that's the absolute only way. If someone asks for help, that's different. If I ask somebody, could you please help me? It means that I'm ready, willing, and able to accept what they have to say. But just to get blatant help here and there, that can be very arrogant. And if I do that to somebody, it can be very arrogant. And it can also be because I just have to get it out. If they don't like it, that's fine. They can go away. And so there are many different levels to that, but we really, really have to start within ourselves, within our heart, and to have the aspiration, I want my path to make a difference for those who are looking for similar frequency.
Really true. And I think we can add to that the joy muffins we talked about. Those joy muffins are kind of little signposts along the way. So it's not, this big, you don't have a burning bush. God's not talking to you through a burning bush, but you're seeing these little signs and these little bits of joy.
Yes, and they are everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere if we notice them. And you are surrounded by invisible beings who love you and who care for you. There are fairies, there are gnomes. All this stuff is real. It may not be physical, but it's there. And there are David beings, little tiny ones, little elementals that want to help and to be part of our human life because that's how they evolve and grow too. So there's no limit to that. But I think the joy happens when we realize it's there. And those joy muffins, the idea of, oh my God, all of a sudden I feel happy or I feel I've resolved something. That is just it. There's no calories in it. It's wonderful. It's all chocolate or it's all icing or whatever. And we give ourselves a gift. And there's all this guilt that we have about giving ourselves a gift. But that joy muffin, that can also be the golden thread that leads us to a way to see somebody that really, really does want help. Maybe they don't know how to ask. And you can very artfully and very kindly find a way to slip something in. That's kind of cool to do too. And then step away.
Yeah, that is very cool to think that people can, share their joy muffins or be influence other people just by being their creative selves. Because it's a light.
It is a light, and it's divine light. It's never not there. I forget about that all the time. Oh my God, I'm caught in a drama, or I wake up and I'm in an icky mood. I have to get my gabapentin going, my dopamine. I have to get all this stuff going. I have to put out an effort. And sometimes I think, what are you doing, Zoli? Nothing's different than it was yesterday, really. And then everything's different. What do you want to bring? That's where we have the word power. We do have power to choose most of the time. Otherwise, we force ourselves. And sometimes we have to force ourselves to be happy, to be kind. We have to play as if. We have to bring that feeling in there. We might feel fake doing it. I don't mean running around pretending like everything's cool all the time. You have no problems. That's not it. But the idea of practicing that, of knowing that that joy is there, it never ever, it doesn't go anywhere. It's your gift. It's part of life. Do we feel it all the time? No, because of the seasons, because of the cycles. And we cycle in and out of it. Then we have to search for it again. And to me, it's that search for God. Where do we find God the most? When we're sad, when we're grieving? We find that peace and that reparation there. It's a different feeling that if we are in say you're in mass, or you're at a drumming circle, or you're with friends, and all of a sudden you feel a connection with all things. And that also is divinity. And that's God. That's that joy muffin. That's that golden thread that can lead you to another one. It can lead, and it goes on and on and on and on, but it's not constant. Life is not like that. But we seek it, and we think it's supposed to be, because we want it. We want all that. It's just how we are. We're insatiable. It's that desire body. As the Buddhists say, desire is the problem. You got one, you want two. People. We want two, we want three or four, and it just never ends. So we have to control that. It's a balance of finding that joy, and then controlling, thinking it's just happiness and it's temporary. But joy is internal. It's an internal thing, and it goes through all the seasons. It's never not there. And then you can feel guilty. Well, it's never not there, but I never feel it. Yes, you do. You do. And those are the times to hold on to.
Right. That goes back to an awareness, not noticing the joy when it's there. You walk right past that gorgeous flower, or you don't notice things because you're so sucked into whatever drama's happening.
That's exactly what I did the other day. I'll tell you what happened. I'm driving home, and I'm driving Russell Street in Missoula, Russell and Reserve Street. People are packed in there. And our automobiles in Missoula, we have too many people. We have too many of this, too many of that. And the roads are tiny. The city of Missoula was developed by two men who either hated each other or who wanted attention. And so you can't find one road. It goes this way or that way. There's a lot of these dysfunction junctions. So I was going through one. It was about 4 in the afternoon. I should have known better, because to get from the east side of Missoula to the west, the north to south, you have to cross the Clark Fork River, which snakes through the whole city. And there's maybe four or five bridges you have to go across. So I thought, oh boy, I got to go over the bridge. And I was dramaing, and I was forgetting that I was part of the problem too. And I stopped, and I looked over to my right, and there's a nice little house, and there was a rose bush growing. And there were these beautiful roses on it. They were red. And the sun was shining perfectly on those roses. And I thought, thank you. That is such a gift. And it's those tiny, simple things that the Davis that raised those roses that are in there. I said, thank you for that beauty. I see you. And I recognize that. Now, if I lived like that all the time, I'd be a friggin' idiot. I'm not going to live like that, because I've got to do laundry. I got to go make barbecue sauce tomorrow. I have to do things. Can I do it with joy all the time? No, but I don't think we are supposed to. And people say they do. I think they're lying. It's just part of life. You're going to be upset. You're going to have negative emotions. It's human nature. And so I think what I am searching for, the abstract ideal, is to be able to watch myself do these things, to go through the seasons, to watch that and go, yep, I'm doing that. I'm doing that. I'm watching myself and I see this happen. I want to change that and I want to keep that, but I'm not going to change it. I'm going to watch what happens when I do those things. To me, that's the technique that works. But when you hit on the seasons idea, that is so true. Everything is to everything. There's a season, a time, and purpose under heaven. So much has been written about that. And it's also the ladder, the hierarchical aspect of that. I think that's a beautiful way to look at life.
It really is. And it's so interesting what you're talking about, how when you get in those moments where you can watch yourself, and it's rare for me to be that aware, but it's so interesting to differentiate between the you that is going through the emotions and, freaking out at the kids for whatever they've done wrong, and the you that is watching yourself go through the emotions and saying, I really wish I was handling this calmer than I am at the moment, even though I'm not.
Now, there's no way I can watch myself all the time. Get off of that guru path. Me, no, 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 no. But when I do, my life goes well. And you're addressing living life. That's precious. It's the cycles, and we all have these cycles we tend to go through. Well, we anticipate something, then we do something, then we get the fallout, then we think about it, then we do it again or not. And so that also is moving forward, and that's with cycles. I would love to be the kind of person that I can watch myself all the time and be totally aware. If I do that more, maybe I'm just neurotic. I don't know, but I'm trying. But to me, that I aspire to that path, because when I do it, I'm like, wow. Do you remember now what movie? One of my favorite movies, Sweet Home Alabama, where she was going to get married to this great guy, and Candace Bergen was the mayor of New York, and he was going to maybe be president, but she was still married to the love of her life. She didn't know it. And so the attorney shows up and said, well, you didn't sign the divorce papers. And she said, yeah. He said, no, he did. You didn't. And she looks at this wonderful man and says, I can't marry you. And you watch him be self-aware. And he finally says, yeah. So that's what this feels like. Talk about not having any wars on the planet. Oh my God. I've never forgotten that. And I watch that movie over and over. It's part of my Southernisms. I have all these Southern movies I watch over and over because I'm addicted. Whatever. I'm an addicted neurotic fool. But I thought that is what a dignified human being to be able to do that. Can you imagine one country going, so that's what that feels like. I'm not going to do that to you anymore.
Wow.
What would happen? Can I do that in my own life when my husband and I are locked in a marital spat? Which you have, it's normal. You're going to have them. You resolve it. You do it lovingly, hopefully. But we catch most of that. But we got a great marriage counselor, Dr. David's wonderful. We've been married almost 14 years. We're still here. We're still learning. And that's the point. Even with countries, you're still learning. But to be able to go, so that's what that feels like to them and to me. That'd be pretty rich, wouldn't it?
That is. It's such a human-centered approach. It makes me feel like that's the answer, to have more apple trees and less bombs.
Wouldn't that be nice? Or bomb people with the apples, a deer would love.
It's much more peaceful. And, obviously we can't do that all the time here. We get too caught up in things, but it's something to strive for.
Oh, we're going to see the end of that. We really are going to see the end of it. I'm fascinated. I get on this harp about AI, how much I love it and what a drama it's going to be and create horrible things too. But there's this little robot in the hospital, in the children's hospital, I think it's in Japan, and it wanders around the aisles and it acts like a 10-year-old girl. And it's comforting. It's got a little bow tie, it's got a little bow, and it's just kind of cute. And I thought, that is really cool. How kind is that? We are going to cure diseases. We are so close. Think what AI can do. AI doesn't care if this person's working harder or they get paid more money. It's just going to do it because it is programmed to do that. It doesn't think, it reacts. It's not a thinking thing. Sentient beings think. So it is going to change everything. And when there is more equity on the planet, these so-called wars we have, it'll kind of die out. They won't become popular anymore. It's the popularity of it. We got a couple weird years coming. It's going to be weird, but so what? We'll figure it out.
I want to go to the fear that people have that AI becomes sentient and then decides humans are disposable.
Who made that up? That's the
A
most
fiction
bizarre.
writer.
I know it. That is these Hollywood movies. It's people's fears. Why is human afraid of everything? You're afraid of UFOs. You're afraid of the creature called Dogman and Bigfoot who could devastate you, and they just chase you because it's fun to chase you because you're idiots. They're having fun. Come on, you're afraid of that. You're afraid of aliens. You're afraid of this. And this fear is what holds us back. Gravity and emotions. Those are the things. So why not? AI is new and it's different. And yet it knows more than you. So what? It was created by Space Brothers, clearly, brought to Earth, and you deal with it as a human being. We, the people, have to become more mature. We have to become stronger. We have to develop a backbone and be courageous and say, I control that. I look for an answer. I love using AI. Oh my gosh. You do a search engine and it says, here's the AI piece, and it goes thinking or whatever it does. Talk about clarity. Oh my God, it is so clear. It's going to change everything. And there will be some awful things that happen, of course. Welcome to Earth. We always have awful things happen. But why fear that? What do you think is going to happen? That it's going to come into your house and control you? It's not.
Too many movies that show all the action scenes of robots versus humans have people hoping for a battle.
Well, yeah, because it works on your fears and it's selling this money. It's all about the money and it's all about the power. Who has the power has the money. Who has the money has the power. People are terrified also of billionaires. Who cares? Who cares? You can be a billionaire. It's not going to fix your life. You're going to be isolated. Come on. So it's these fears that are created for your entertainment and to get them money. We chatted on the radio show about, you watch television, then interrupting the television, these things called commercials. Commercialism. They're commercials. It wants you to give them money. And as you notice in commercials, they rarely mention the money. One of the things about advertising is that you grab attention and you don't mention the price. You just make people think they want it. And they will lose if somebody else has it, you see. And so I think part of the fear of AI is AI has it and I don't. It knows things I don't. Well, there's plenty of people who know things I don't. So I hang out with them. They're smarter than me. It's cool.
That's an excellent point because instead of being scared of things that are different than us or smarter than us, we need to maybe be kind and befriend and see our common ground. You're talking about billionaires. I think most billionaires could use a hug. And maybe that's the same for the supernatural beings that we're so scared of as well.
Oh, that's a beautiful way to put it. And I think that's using the divine feminine to nurture nature and to nurture human nature instead of being aggressive. It's either love or fear and all the little cousins in between. And when someone is screaming, they're afraid. When they're fighting, they're afraid. If you walk into a room and here comes somebody, they're yelling or they're doing this and flashing their teeth, they're scared. They're scared. The calmer you are, what's an interesting thing, they use in psyops and they also use this in recovery work. It's a known thing. And in relationships, whoever has the lowest common denominator, whoever is the one that doesn't want something, they're in control. If you're in a relationship and you want something the other person doesn't, you're controlling the whole situation. So if you walk into a room and you're pleasant, but you're calm, you're shooting gabapentin into your body or GABA and dopamine, and you're calm, and people see that, the mirror neurons might calm them too. Or they might want to shoot you because they hate you because you're so calm. I don't know.
You're only in control of yourself, so in that way, you're bringing reasonableness to the situation.
Yeah, I'm always armed. I mean, trust an olive atop your camel. Don't be an idiot. It's a dangerous world. But to treat yourself lovingly and to try to be more calm, which I certainly try to be more calm. Oh my God, everyone around me would appreciate that. So I practice it. The breathing techniques help me. Being aware of my surroundings, of who I am, that also helps me. And so I'm developing at almost age 72 a new way of dealing with anxiety.
We need to do that, and it's not talked about enough how staying calm and managing your own emotions really helps the people around you. Even if you just need to say, "Give me a moment, I need some space to manage myself."
Where do we see that on TV or YouTube or anywhere? You don't see that. You see reactivity and screaming and yelling and hating and attacking and it's ridiculous. That's the lowest hanging fruit of human nature. And that allows other people to control you and your behavior. It's very easy to be reactive. I mean, I do it. Everybody does it, but to what degree are you going to do it?
It's a good question. And how far are you gonna go? Are you willing to go with it?
Oh, yeah. Feeling angry is different than acting angry. That's the absolute truth. Just talk to law enforcement, what they go through. Oh my God, how they do that. I could never do that. I'm way too reactive. He said what to you? He did what? They learn and they control. They control themselves. It's a specific signature. And good cops learn that. They are psychically attuned. Their situational awareness is high because that is what, and that's the feminine nature, by the way. That is what allows them to go into dangerous places. And they deal with 10% of the population 90% of the time. All the riots and the ruckus that you see happening, that's not the main population. That's about 1 to 10% of it. But they certainly get all the attention, don't they?
They do. And it's really incredible the level of self-control that law enforcement professionals have to have at all times. And that with the level of hate that they're being dealt with, it really is something amazing to behold, actually. And
It's
although I don't think they'd really like you hearing it's a feminine energy.
Yeah, because it's not pink. That's not it. What it is, it's I know my husband reacts. It's your intuition. He and I have a lot of discussions. I ask him a lot of questions about not missions or things he did, but the nature of who they were. The tier one operators have a totally different signature. They have an internal calm that I think they're born with. And Tom said they used to sit around discussing, are we made or are we born like this? I think it's a combination of things. You talk about specific signature. Oh my gosh. They can control. They've been in, I'm not going to get into it because I don't know, but they've been into a lot of situations clearly that are dangerous. And most of them come out of it, but it changes you. It changes you. And so when we face our fears, when we develop a backbone, and when we say, I'm not going to let that control me, I'm going to control myself, this world would be a different place.
It really would. because everyone would be responsible for their own sphere of well-being, and then things wouldn't spill out and become so catastrophic as often.
Remind me of that when I'm in the line at Starbucks and there are 4 people ahead of me and I want my latte. So
But you're not starting wars over it, are you?
not yet. There are laws. I'm a very law abiding citizen and I protect myself in that way. But the anxiousness and the emotion, if we're in a hurry, you know how we get. And some people can't control that. You're an idiot. What are you, two? Get control of yourself, or an authority will. And there is a certain population of people that use the courts and law enforcement as their higher power. Law enforcement is very familiar with people. Oh, yeah, there's Jane. There she goes again. Let's go see what she's doing now. And they roll over there, and Jane's like, hey, officer, whoever, I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything. It's not me. So we need to own our stuff.
And we're really not taught that at all, it doesn't seem like, unless you have parents that are very self-aware and helping you through that, because it's not taught in school. And then you're thrown into adulthood and you're kind of on your own to figure out all the emotional and spiritual aspects of things that you might not have understood before.
That's a very good point. It's not taught in schools unless you maybe go to a Catholic high school or a Christian school or a whatever kind of school, to where those things are taught together, where you're taught respect and we're taught to control yourself. And I'm not just singling out those schools, but the only ones that I can think of right now. I got that training through my parents because I was an awful child. They had a lot of practice, but not through my school. I got it through the religious practice and through my parents. But I like that. I like order. I've got that Capricorn North Node, law enforcement and military, because I find my life that if there is order, if things are tucked away, and if they are squared away, that my life goes better. I want to prepare myself for the next day when I go to sleep. I want to have things laid out. I want to know what I'm doing because I'm taking care of myself. I'm giving myself a dose of GABA, as I heard it say on an internet show the other day. You give yourself a dose of GABA. But I had to learn that procedure. I didn't always do that. I've gotten older and order has become more important for me.
It brings a sense of calm for that, for your anxiety, and just to be aware of what's coming next.
Yeah, and I would think certainly with kids, oh my God, you have to prepare this, you have to prepare that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. We're living up here rambling around in this remote Montana house. Who's going to tell me I can't do that? Tom, the cat, they no. All the house fairy drives me crazy. As I said, she's about 3 feet tall. She drives me absolutely insane. She'll come up and she'll go, I need to ask you something. I need to ask you something. I'm like, all right, ask me something. And then is it okay if we did it? If I bring anything new into the house, into the little museum, the cabinet of curiosities that is strange, they all fight over it. They will fight and they will argue. And so I have learned before I take anything in there to say, all right, one at a time, one at a time. And one time, there's a little gate going into the room. I said, one time I brought this little statue that I found. It was going to be a vampire skull. I was going to put a hat on it and all this stuff. And these little signs that say vampire skull, 1642, Transylvania. I have these little plaques made. They're bullshit, but it's fun. So I'm standing there. I said, one at a time. And I see the group of them run into each other like an accordion. They're like smash. I'm laughing, but I do have psychic sight. That's the gift I have. You get me to do stuff with the real world, I can't do it. I can't figure it out. You put a lawnmower together? Are you kidding? Those are directions? I can't see it. My mind does not go there. So I depend on Tom for that. He depends on me for stuff going on in the house. You get along, you figure out something to do, but you want to have an order in your life that works for you. And the seasons of life are orderly. I will guarantee you that after fall, it's going to get cold in Montana. They just closed Beartooth Pass up there, as of yesterday, and it's what, October 9th? Because they're getting snow. It's going to be maybe 10 to 15 feet of snow this winter for the next 7 months. We're going to get a real winter. We need it. So that's a guaranteed order of things. After that, it'll melt. Then I'll plant a garden. So there are certain things that bring order to our life, and the consequences of not recognizing those sequential things can be very disarming, and it can make us feel we don't belong. But we do belong. Every darn one of us does.
Well, yeah, you might just be planting seeds in the winter and need to get back, into the cycle of something that fits you better.
Well, if you're planting seeds in the winter, you'll see nothing happens. And so I learned by my mistakes too. You know, there are times that to everything there is a season. And I love that idea of the seasons and the hierarchy and when we do things and when we don't do things. I like when I get up in the morning, I do my little things I need to do. I'll have a cup of coffee. I'll sit on my iPad. It'll still be dark. I like to do that at 3 o'clock too. And that came from when I ran my farm and I had my cows, and I'd feed my cows at 3 because it got dark in the winter. Then I'd come in and have my cup of coffee at 3. I still do it. It took me 2 years. You talk about patterns. We moved to Montana. I don't have cows here, but I was in Walmart one day when I still went to Walmart. I don't anymore. Weird things happened in there. But I'm standing at Walmart at the checker going, oh my God, it's 5 to 3. I have to go home. So I was in a cyclic pattern that was no longer appropriate. You see, it took me 2 years to get out of that. I'm a slow learner, but it really did. But still at 3 o'clock, I want my cup of coffee. So what?
So the patterns are good for us, and we also have to allow them to change and shift with us.
Yeah, because they will. External situations can definitely change things. We have to be able to adapt and to grow and to change, but also find out what's good for us. In my earlier life, I couldn't tell what was good for me or not. I was floating from one thing to the next. I am Enneagram a 7 and Myers Briggs INFP. I'm autistic. Our chart ruler is Neptune. Woo! Out there in the woo woo. It's a perfect chart for a woo woo person. But I had to adult and I had to grow up, especially living with my husband who looked at me like I had a unicorn growing out of my forehead with some of the stuff I did and said. So I had to adult, I had to grow and change.
And that's a process as well. Is there something specific that helped you most in that process?
Shame, public shaming, and embarrassment of, I can't believe you did that again, Zoli. I grew up in the old South, and there are a lot of rituals in the old South. You did this and that. We dressed for dinner, for God's sake. Can you imagine? My father had his pajamas ironed. He was an old Southern gentleman. It was a different thing. You needed a passport to go there for sure. Different place. So the way that I was raised and the way that life is now is a different planet. So I have had to take a lot of those things that I did, and I can't do those anymore. But it was a very social kind of environment. If you move to Montana, it's social, but everybody wears camouflage. You don't have to put on your fur coat to go down in the village to shop, for God's sake. And so things will change, and it's up to you how you want to change those things. How do you want to adapt? Where do you find the joy? And most people don't care what you do. They really don't. You know, the public shaming from living in the old South. Oh my God, she wore that. She wore white. It's after Labor Day. It was serious back then because you're young and you're growing and you're trying to do things right. Now, I really don't care. I know better. Thank God at almost age 72.
I hear you telling people to get comfortable with change and get used to things, adapt to whatever might come.
Yeah, to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You see, it's like, okay, that feels weird. but I'm just going to be curious. I'm going to walk through this and I'm going to see if this is good for me. If it's not good for me, run like hell the other direction. Because there's certain times that you should. But I think we do have to grow, and I think it is cyclical again. That we'll do things and get comfortable with it. Then we get to live in that frequency. Then here comes a new thing. Life's like that all the time. Some people are better at it than others. But I think the
Yes.
more loving we are, the more kind that we are to ourselves and other people, and do those calming things that bring in those joy muffins. And look at that golden thread is just shining. I'm going to follow that and see what happens.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to follow that golden thread and remember that, just to love myself and be kind to each other and to ourselves. Not be so hard on everybody.
Beautifully put, Lynn. I shall aspire to that also.
Wonderful. We'll talk to you again soon. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.
Take care.